Lisa Morgan winced as her prosthetic leg caught on a protruding tree root. The pain shot up through her thigh, a sharp reminder of what she had lost during her final tour with the Marines. 3 years had passed since the attack on her forward operating base, but the memories remained as fresh as the mountain air surrounding her. The Appalachian Trail stretched before her, a winding path through dense forest. Lisa had come here seeking peace, hoping the isolation would quiet the voices in her head. The doctors called it PTSD. She called it Tuesday. Dark clouds gathered overhead, turning the late afternoon sky an ominous gray. Lisa checked her watch and frowned. The weather report had promised clear skies, but nature had other plans. The first fat raindrop splashed against her face as thunder rumbled in the distance. Perfect, she muttered, pulling a rain cover from her backpack and stretching it over her gear. The trail map showed no shelters for the next 5 miles. She would have to pick up her pace or face a very wet night. The rain intensified quickly, turning from gentle drops to a punishing downpour. Lisa pulled her jacket collar higher and pressed forward, her prosthetic sliding dangerously on the muddy trail. The wind picked up, bending the trees and sending leaves swirling around her feet. A crack of lightning split the sky, followed by a thunderclap so loud Lisa instinctively dropped to a crouch, her combat training taking over. In that moment of stillness, she heard something unexpected, a whimper carried on the wind. Lisa stood, tilting her head to listen. There it was again, definitely an animal in distress. She hesitated. The storm was worsening, and night would fall soon. The smart move would be to continue and find shelter. The whimper came again, louder this time. "Damn it," Lisa said, turning toward the sound. Some habits died hard, and leaving someone behind had never been her style. She followed the noise off, the main trail, moving carefully through the underbrush. The rain pounded against her hood, and her prosthetic sank into the soft earth with each step. After 50 yards, she pushed through a thick patch of ferns and found herself in a small clearing. In the center lay a dog, a large German shepherd, with unusual blue-tinged fur. It was curled on its side, one flank exposed to the elements. The dog raised its head at her approach, intelligent eyes fixing on Lisa with an intensity that made her pause. "Hey there," she said softly, crouching down several feet away. "You hurt, buddy?" The dog made no aggressive moves but watched her with unnerving focus. As Lisa inched closer, she saw what appeared to be a burn running along the animal's side. The wound looked strange, with perfectly geometric patterns unlike any injury she had seen before. "That looks bad. We need to get you someplace dry." As if understanding her words, the dog struggled to its feet. Lisa reached out slowly, but the shepherd limped past her outstretched hand and moved to the edge of the clearing. There it stopped and looked back as if waiting. "You want me to follow you?" Lisa asked, feeling slightly foolish for talking to a dog. The animal took a few more steps, then turned again. "I must be losing my mind," Lisa said. But she followed. The dog led her deeper into the forest, away from the main trail. Under normal circumstances, Lisa would never stray so far from her planned route, but something about the animal's deliberate movements kept her following. The dog seemed to know exactly where it was going, navigating the rough terrain with purpose despite its injury. The storm intensified around them, the canopy offering little protection from the driving rain. Lisa checked her GPS, confirming her fears. They were miles from any marked trail. Just as she considered turning back, the dog stopped and seemed to shimmer slightly in the gathering darkness. Lisa blinked, certain her eyes were playing tricks. The shimmer happened again, a brief, blue glow that outlined the animal's form. Before she could process what she was seeing, the dog continued forward with renewed urgency. 30 minutes later, just as the last light faded from the sky, they emerged into another small clearing. In the center stood a cabin. It was old, but well-maintained, with solar panels visible on the roof. No lights shone from the windows and no smoke rose from the chimney. "Who lives all the way out here?" Lisa wondered aloud. The dog limped to the cabin's door and scratched at it with its paw. Lisa approached cautiously, military instincts on high alert. The door swung open at her touch, unlocked. "Hello?" she called into the darkness. "Anyone home?" Silence answered her. The dog pushed past her legs and entered without hesitation. After a moment's consideration, Lisa followed, leaving the storm behind. The interior surprised her. While the outside appeared rustic, the inside contained modern furniture and technology. A tablet sat on a coffee table, and what looked like advanced communication equipment lined one wall. The cabin had electricity, the lights coming on automatically as she entered. "Someone's been living here," Lisa said, noting the clean surfaces and well-stocked shelves. The dog shook itself, spraying water across the floor, then collapsed on a rug near a dormant fireplace. Lisa removed her wet jacket and backpack, her curiosity overcoming her caution. She explored the main room, finding food, medical supplies, and books on subjects ranging from astronomy to quantum physics. "Let's take care of that wound," she said, retrieving a first aid kit from her pack. The dog watched her approach but made no move to resist as she knelt beside it. Lisa gently parted the blue-tinged fur to examine the injury. What she had assumed was a burn in the dim forest light now revealed itself as something entirely different. Beneath the fur, metallic implants formed intricate patterns against the dog's skin. They reminded her of circuit boards, with tiny lights pulsing in rhythm. "What are you?" Lisa whispered. The dog's eyes held hers, and for a moment, she felt a strange connection, as if it was trying to communicate. When she reached out to touch the implants, her prosthetic leg began to tingle. The sensation traveled up her limb to the point where flesh met technology. The dog suddenly stood and moved to a blank wall. It pressed its paw against a panel and, with a soft hiss, a section of the wall slid away, revealing a staircase leading down into darkness. Lisa stared at the opening, her heart racing. Every instinct told her to leave, to return to the trail despite the storm. Yet something stronger pulled her forward, curiosity, or perhaps destiny. The dog looked back at her, waiting. Lisa took a deep breath and reached for the flashlight in her pack. "All right," she said. "Show me what's down there." As she followed the strange animal down the stairs, Lisa had no way of knowing that this moment would change not only her life, but the future of humanity itself. The answers to questions she had never thought to ask waited in the darkness below. The stairs led down into darkness. Lisa's flashlight beam cut through the shadows, revealing metal walls that seemed out of place beneath the wooden cabin. The air grew cooler with each step, and a faint hum filled the silence. The injured dog moved ahead confidently despite its limp, stopping occasionally to ensure Lisa followed. At the bottom of the staircase, lights flickered on automatically. Lisa gasped. She stood at the entrance of what could only be described as a laboratory. Glass screens covered the walls, complex equipment filled tables, and in the center sat a strange console unlike anything she had ever seen. "What is this place?" Lisa whispered, though there was no one to answer. The dog, Scout according to a tag she now noticed on its collar, padded across the room to a desk covered with papers and notebooks. Lisa followed, her prosthetic leg making soft clicking sounds against the metal floor. The notebooks were filled with handwritten notes and diagrams. The top page contained a header, Day 237 of Eridani Project, Dr. Alan Hayes. Lisa flipped through the pages, struggling to understand the scientific language. Words like extraterrestrial communication and biological interface jumped out at her. One page showed a diagram of what appeared to be Scout, with notes detailing genetic modifications and implant placements. "They modified you," Lisa said, looking at the dog with new understanding. "But why?" Scout whined and pushed his nose against a tablet on the desk. The screen lit up, revealing a video file labeled Contingency Message. Lisa's hand hovered over the play button. Part of her wanted to run, to climb back up the stairs and pretend she had never found this place. But curiosity won out. She pressed play. A man appeared on screen, mid-50s, with gray-streaked hair and tired eyes. He wore a lab coat with a government patch partially torn off. "If you're watching this," he began, "then Scout has found someone suitable. My name is Dr. Alan Hayes. Until 8 months ago, I worked for a classified government program studying technology recovered from a crashed extraterrestrial vessel. Lisa sank into a nearby chair, her legs suddenly weak. The ship contained advanced technology beyond our current understanding. Hayes continued. Most importantly, we discovered that the aliens, who call themselves the Eridani, communicate telepathically through a biological interface that can be adapted to work with certain human neural patterns. Scout was part of our attempt to create a bridge between our species. The video showed footage of Scout as a puppy, undergoing procedures to implant the technology into his developing body. Lisa felt sick watching it, but couldn't look away when our program directors decided to weaponize the technology. I couldn't stand by and watch. The Eridani are peaceful explorers. Using their gifts to create weapons would be a betrayal of everything they offered us. So I took what I could. Research, equipment, and Scout, and disappeared. Hayes leaned closer to the camera, his expression grave. Scout was programmed to find someone with a specific signature, someone whose body contains elements compatible with Eridani technology. If you're watching this, you're that person. Check your body for medical implants, prosthetics, or other devices. One of them contains a rare metal compound that resonates with Scout's implants. Lisa looked down at her prosthetic leg. The military doctors had told her it contained experimental materials to help with nerve integration. Could that be what Hayes meant? There's more you need to know, Hayes continued. But first, a sudden crash from upstairs interrupted Lisa's viewing. Scout's ears perked up and he growled softly. Lisa quickly turned off the flashlight and moved to the bottom of the stairs, listening. Heavy footsteps moved across the cabin floor above. Then a voice called out, "Check the perimeter. The tracks lead here. Find out where she went." Lisa's heart pounded. Someone had followed her trail to the cabin. But who? And how did they track her through that storm? Scout nudged her leg, pulling her attention away from the stairs. The dog moved to the far wall of the laboratory where a section seemed different from the rest. It was curved, with a control panel nearby. Scout placed his paw on a scanning pad beside the panel, and the wall separated to reveal a hidden chamber. Inside stood what appeared to be a glass cylinder, tall enough to hold a person. The cylinder was filled with a bluish liquid that glowed softly in the dim light. Through the liquid, Lisa could make out a humanoid figure floating inside. "Oh my God," she whispered. The figure was clearly not human, though similar in shape. Its skin had a faint blue tint, not unlike Scout's fur. The face seemed peaceful, almost sleeping, with delicate features and no hair. Lisa moved closer, drawn by a strange sense of familiarity she couldn't explain. More footsteps sounded above, closer to the hidden entrance to the basement. Lisa knew they would find the stairway soon. She had to make a decision. Scout whined softly and pawed at the control panel beside the cylinder. The panel lit up, showing symbols Lisa didn't recognize alongside English labels. The largest button was labeled Release Protocol. Lisa looked from Scout to the figure in the cylinder and back again. The dog's intelligent eyes seemed to plead with her. Outside, raised voices indicated the searchers had found something. Time was running out. "They're coming for her, aren't they?" Lisa said. "The Eridani. This is what Hayes was protecting." Scout placed his paw on her prosthetic leg, and a strange tingling sensation traveled up to her hip. In that moment, she felt a connection, not just to Scout, but somehow to the figure in the cylinder as well. Images flashed through her mind. Stars, strange landscapes, faces of beings not from Earth. She saw violence, fear, and then a message of peace rejected. The sound of the stairway door sliding open echoed through the laboratory. The hunters had found their way in. Lisa made her decision. She pressed the release button. The liquid in the cylinder began to drain through vents in the floor. The figure inside twitched slightly as the blue substance receded. Warning lights flashed on nearby equipment and a computerized voice announced, "Stasis termination initiated. Vital signs stabilizing." The footsteps on the stairs grew louder. Lisa looked around desperately for a weapon, finding only a metal tool that might serve as a club. She positioned herself between the stairway and the cylinder, Scout at her side. The prosthetic leg that had given her so much trouble now felt strangely alive, almost humming with energy. As the last of the liquid drained away, the cylinder's glass wall slid open. The figure inside took a gasping breath and opened its eyes that shimmered with the same blue glow as Scout's implants. Those eyes found Lisa's, and in that moment of connection, Lisa knew her life would never be the same. The intruders reached the bottom of the stairs, weapon raised. Time seemed to slow as the intruder reached the bottom of the stairs. He wore black tactical gear with no visible identification, his face hidden behind a mask and night vision goggles. The weapon in his hands looked military grade. "Target located," he said into a radio on his shoulder. +1 civilian and the asset. Lisa gripped her makeshift weapon tighter, shifting her weight to her good leg. 3 years out of combat hadn't dulled her fighting instinct. Scout growled beside her, the blue glow from his implants intensifying. "Step away from the container," the man ordered, aiming his weapon at Lisa. Before she could respond, the alien behind her made a strange humming sound. The lights in the laboratory flickered, and the intruder's weapon suddenly powered down with an electrical whine. He shook it in confusion. "What the?" The alien stepped forward on unsteady legs. Up close, Lisa could see that while humanoid, the being was clearly not from Earth. Her skin had a blue-silver sheen, and what Lisa had thought was a lack of hair was actually a covering of fine, nearly invisible filaments that caught the light when she moved. Her eyes were larger than a human's, with pupils that expanded and contracted like camera apertures. "You will not harm them," the alien said in perfect English, though her lips didn't match the words exactly. "I am Nari, diplomatic envoy of the Eridani Collective." The intruder backed up a step, raising his hand to his radio. "Sir, the subject is conscious and verbal. Request instructions." A crackling voice responded, but before the man could react, Scout lunged forward. The dog didn't attack but positioned himself between the intruder and the women. The implants along his flank pulsed with blue light, and the radio went dead. More footsteps sounded on the stairs. They had only moments before. "Reinforcements arrived. We need to leave," Lisa said, turning to Nari. "Can you walk?" Nari nodded, though she seemed unsteady. "The stasis effects will pass quickly. There is an escape route." She pointed to a wall opposite the stairs. Dr. Hayes prepared for this possibility. The intruder moved to block their path, but Scout growled and advanced. Something in the dog's posture made the man hesitate. "Whatever you're planning, stop," he said. "There are 6 more men upstairs. You have nowhere to go." Lisa smiled grimly. "Watch us." She swung her makeshift club not at the man but at the control panel beside him. Sparks flew as the panel shattered, and emergency lights flashed on. A computerized voice announced, "Security breach detected. Emergency protocols engaged." The laboratory door at the top of the stairs slid shut with a heavy thunk, cutting off the approaching reinforcements. Their muffled shouts could be heard as they pounded on the metal barrier. The intruder lunged at Lisa, but years of combat training took over. She sidestepped, using her prosthetic leg as leverage to throw him off balance. As he stumbled past, Scout charged, knocking the man to the ground. The dog didn't bite but held him pinned with surprising strength. "This way," Nari said, moving to the wall she had indicated. She placed her hand on what looked like an ordinary section of metal, and a hidden door slid open, revealing a narrow tunnel. "The tunnel leads to the surface 1/2 mile from here." Lisa nodded to Scout, who released the intruder and backed toward them. The man scrambled to his feet, but before he could pursue, Nari touched a panel inside the tunnel entrance. A transparent barrier slid down, sealing the opening. "That will hold them for approximately 7 minutes, Nari said. "We should hurry." The tunnel was dimly lit by strips of blue light along the floor. As they moved forward, Lisa's mind raced with questions. Scout took the lead, his limp less pronounced now. "Who are you?" Lisa finally asked as they moved deeper into the tunnel. "And why are they after you?" Nari's large eyes studied Lisa with open curiosity. "I am a diplomatic representative sent to evaluate Earth's readiness for formal contact with the galactic community. My mission was compromised. When elements within your government captured my scout vessel, they wished to obtain our technology for military purposes. And Hayes? Lisa asked. How does he fit into this? Dr. Hayes was assigned to study our technology. He recognized our peaceful intentions and chose to help me escape when he learned of plans to dissect me for study. Nari's voice carried no resentment, only a statement of fact. He created this facility as a sanctuary and modified Scout to serve as a guardian and guide. Lisa processed this information as they continued through the tunnel. The walls were smooth, unlike any mining or construction technique she had seen before. And my prosthetic? Hayes said it contained something compatible with your technology. Nari nodded. The material in your artificial limb contains traces of Eridani metals. It was salvaged from my ship and repurposed, unknowingly creating a connection between you and our technology. That is why Scout sought you out when Hayes disappeared. What happened to Hayes? Lisa asked. He was captured 3 weeks ago. They have been searching for this location ever since. They reached a point where the tunnel branched in 2 directions. Scout stopped, looking back at Nari for guidance. The left path leads to the surface, Nari said. The right leads to my communication equipment. I must contact my people before it is too late. Lisa hesitated. Those men up there, who are they? They work for General Frank Porter, Nari explained. He leads a secret division dedicated to acquiring and weaponizing extraterrestrial technology. If he captures me, he will use my knowledge to develop weapons that could threaten not only other worlds but your own. Lisa thought of her time in the Marines, of the missions that never quite made sense. Operations against supposed terrorist cells that had technology beyond anything she'd seen before. She remembered the strange energy weapons that had cost her her leg, weapons that the enemy shouldn't have had. Porter, she said slowly. I know that name. He visited our base after the attack that took my leg. Said it was a new kind of terrorist weapon. Nari's expression changed to one of sadness. Not terrorists, a peaceful exploration team from the Procyon system. They were defending themselves after being attacked by Porter's men. The revelation hit Lisa like a physical blow. Her injury, her trauma, it had all been part of a cover-up, a secret war against peaceful visitors. What happens if you contact your people? Lisa asked. They will send representatives to meet with your world leaders. Earth stands at a crucial point in its development. You have the potential to join the galactic community, but only if you can prove you are ready for peaceful cooperation. A distant boom echoed through the tunnel. The men had breached the laboratory. We need to decide now, Lisa said. Left or right? Scout whined softly and moved toward the right passage. Lisa looked at the dog, then at Nari, and made her decision. Lead the way, she told Nari. I want to help you make that call. They turned right, moving deeper underground, as the sounds of pursuit grew louder behind them. The right tunnel sloped downward, taking them deeper beneath the mountain. The blue light strips grew brighter as they progressed, responding to their presence. Lisa's prosthetic leg hummed with energy, making her steps lighter and more balanced than she had experienced since losing her natural limb. Your leg is synchronizing with our technology, Nari explained, noticing Lisa's surprised expression. The connection will grow stronger the longer you are exposed to Eridani systems. A loud crash echoed from behind them. Porter's men had broken through the barrier. How much further? Lisa asked. Not far, Nari replied. Scout, activate security measures. The dog ran ahead, his paws touching specific points on the tunnel floor. Behind them, sections of the ceiling collapsed, blocking the path without completely sealing it. That will slow them, Nari said. But Porter's team has equipment that can clear the debris quickly. They reached a circular chamber carved from the living rock. In the center stood a tall crystalline structure that pulsed with the same blue light as Scout's implants. Around the walls, screens displayed star charts and flowing symbols Lisa couldn't read. This is a subspace communicator, Nari explained, moving to a console beside the crystal. It can send signals instantly across vast distances, I need to contact the Eridani High Council before Porter captures me or destroys this facility. Lisa stood guard at the tunnel entrance while Scout took position beside her. The dog's injuries seemed less severe now, his movements more fluid and purposeful. What happens if Porter gets here before you can send your message? Lisa asked. He will use me to access Eridani technology, Nari said, her fingers dancing over the control panel. My people embedded safeguards in our technology to prevent misuse, but with enough time and resources, Porter could bypass them. Lisa thought about the implications. And create weapons. Weapons that would upset the balance of power not just on Earth, but potentially throughout this sector of space. Nari's large eyes looked up from her work. Your world would be seen as a threat, not a potential ally. The communicator crystal began to pulse faster, emanating waves of blue energy. I need a few more minutes to establish the connection, Nari said. The facility's power reserves are low after my extended time in stasis. A distant rumbling indicated Porter's men were breaking through the tunnel collapses. Lisa checked her makeshift weapon, knowing it would provide little protection against trained soldiers with real guns. Why did you come to Earth in the first place? Lisa asked, partly to distract herself from their precarious situation. We have been observing your planet for centuries, Nari replied, continuing to work at the console. Earth stands at a crucial evolutionary juncture. Your species has developed advanced technology but still struggles with basic cooperation. The decisions you make in the next few decades will determine whether you destroy yourselves or join the greater community of worlds. And which way do you think we'll go? Lisa asked. Nari paused her work, considering. I believe humans have great potential. You are resourceful, adaptable, and capable of profound compassion. But you are also driven by fear, particularly fear of the unknown. A crash from the tunnel signaled that Porter's men had broken through another collapse. They were getting closer. They're almost here, Lisa warned. Nari nodded. I am nearly finished. Scout, prepare the emergency protocols. The dog moved to another panel and placed his paw on a scanning pad. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a small chamber filled with equipment Lisa didn't recognize. What is that? She asked. A last resort, Nari replied. If we cannot escape, Scout will trigger a complete data transfer to my people. All of my observations and experiences on Earth will be transmitted, along with recommendations for how to proceed. And what would your recommendations be? Lisa asked. Before Nari could answer, footsteps echoed from the tunnel. A voice called out, This is General Frank Porter. We have you surrounded. There's nowhere left to run. A tall man in a military uniform stepped into the chamber, flanked by 4 soldiers in tactical gear. His gray hair was cut short, and his face bore the hardened look of someone used to giving orders that were followed without question. He carried no visible weapon, but radiated authority. Ah, the famous Nari, Porter said, his voice conversational despite the tension. And Scout, our missing project. Plus, he turned to Lisa, his eyes widening slightly in recognition. Sergeant Morgan, this is unexpected. Lisa stiffened. How do you know who I am? I make it my business to know all veterans affected by extraterrestrial encounters, Porter replied. Your injury was unfortunate collateral damage in a necessary operation. Necessary? Lisa's voice hardened. Attacking peaceful visitors was necessary. Porter's expression remained neutral. You don't understand the bigger picture, Sergeant. Earth faces threats you can't imagine. The galaxy isn't the friendly neighborhood the Eridani would have you believe. And weaponizing their technology is your solution? Lisa challenged. Preparedness is my solution, Porter corrected. The Eridani and their allies would keep humanity dependent and vulnerable, doling out technology at their discretion. I prefer self-reliance. During this exchange, Nari continued working at the console, her movements subtle enough to avoid drawing attention. Porter noticed anyway. Step away from the communicator, he ordered. 2 soldiers raised their weapons. Nari straightened but didn't comply. General Porter, your actions endanger not only relations with my people, but Earth's standing in the galactic community. There are protocols for emerging worlds. Violence against diplomatic envoys violates those protocols. Diplomatic envoy. Porter laughed without humor. You came in secret without official contact. That makes you a spy, not a diplomat. Initial observation is standard procedure, Nari countered. We needed to understand your civilization before making formal contact. The crystal communicator pulsed faster, now glowing bright enough to cast shadows around the chamber. Scout moved closer to Lisa, his body tense and ready. Enough talk, Porter said. Secure the alien and the dog. Kill the woman if she resists. The soldiers moved forward, but Lisa stood her ground. Her prosthetic leg hummed with increasing energy, the sensation spreading up her thigh and into her spine. Without understanding how, she felt connected to both Scout and Nari, aware of their intentions as if they were her own. I wouldn't do that, Lisa warned, a newfound confidence in her voice. Porter raised an eyebrow. And why is that, Sergeant? Morgan? The communicator crystal flashed brilliantly, bathing the chamber in blue light. Nari turned from the console, her expression triumphant. Because, Lisa said, feeling the truth of her words, the message has already been sent. The Eridani know everything that's happened here. They're coming. Porter's face darkened with anger. Secure them! Now! As the soldiers rushed forward, Scout let out a howl that seemed to resonate with the crystal itself. Lisa's prosthetic leg glowed through her pants, pulsing in rhythm with Scout's implants and the communicator. The chamber filled with light as time seemed to slow around them. The blue light grew until it filled the chamber, temporarily blinding everyone inside. When it faded, Lisa found herself still standing, but Porter and his men were frozen in place, caught in mid-motion like statues. What happened to them? Lisa asked, stepping carefully around a soldier whose arm was still raised to fire his weapon. Time dilation field, Nari explained. They are experiencing time at 1/10,000th the normal rate. To them, this moment will seem to pass in an instant. Scout moved to the center of the room, his entire body now glowing with blue energy. The dog looked at Lisa with eyes that seemed more aware, more present than before. The communication was successful, Nari said, relief evident in her voice. The Eridani High Council has received my report and my request for intervention. What happens now? Lisa asked. Now we must reach the surface, Nari replied. My people will send representatives, but we need to be in the open for them to locate us precisely. Lisa looked at the frozen forms of Porter and his men. And them? The field will collapse in approximately 20 minutes. By then, we must be far from here. They exited through another tunnel that led upward, Scout leading the way. Lisa noticed that her prosthetic leg continued to pulse with energy, making her movements fluid and painless for the first time since her injury. Your connection to our technology grows stronger, Nari observed as they climbed. It is unusual for a human to adapt so quickly. Hayes said Scout was programmed to find someone compatible, Lisa recalled. Is that why the dog led me to the cabin? Nari nodded. Scout's implants can detect the resonance between your prosthetic and Eridani technology. He recognized you as someone who could help complete my mission. Which is what exactly? To evaluate Earth's readiness for formal contact and provide your leaders with a choice. They emerged from the tunnel into the cool night air. The storm had passed, leaving a clear sky filled with stars above the mountain forest. Scout led them to a small clearing on the ridge. What kind of choice? Lisa pressed. Nari looked up at the star-filled sky. Your world stands at a crossroads. You have the technology to destroy yourself several times over, yet also the potential to join a community of worlds working together for mutual benefit. The choice is between isolation and cooperation, between fear and trust. Lisa thought about Porter's words. And if we choose isolation, self-reliance, then we will respect that choice, Nari said simply. But the path would be harder. Many worlds have destroyed themselves at this stage of development. Scout suddenly perked up his ears and looked skyward. A soft humming filled the air, growing louder by the second. They're coming, Nari said. My people have responded faster than I expected. Lisa followed their gaze upward as a section of the night sky seemed to shimmer and distort. A vessel materialized above them. Unlike any aircraft Lisa had seen, it was smooth and elongated, glowing with the same blue energy as Nari's technology. "Your ship?" Lisa asked. "A diplomatic vessel," Nari corrected, "much larger than my scout ship that was captured." Before the ship could descend further, the sound of engines and rotors cut through the night. Military helicopters appeared over the ridge, spotlights sweeping the forest below. One light found them in the clearing and fixed on their position. "Porter's backup," Lisa said grimly. The time dilation field must have collapsed. A voice boomed from one of the helicopters. "This is General Porter. Stand down and surrender the alien. This is a matter of national security." Soldiers began to rappel from the helicopters surrounding the clearing. Lisa counted at least a dozen armed men forming a perimeter around them. "Last chance, Sergeant Morgan," Porter's voice called out. "Step away from the alien and the dog." Lisa stood her ground, positioning herself between the soldiers and Nari. Scout growled beside her, his implants glowing brightly. "You're making a mistake, Porter," Lisa shouted back. "This isn't a threat, it's an opportunity." Porter himself appeared at the edge of the clearing, having apparently taken the tunnel up from the communication chamber. He looked disheveled and angry. "An opportunity for them to control us," he responded. "To decide what technology we get when we get it and how we use it. Is that what you fought for, Sergeant? To hand over Earth's sovereignty to aliens?" Lisa felt her prosthetic leg pulse with energy, and with it came understanding. Images and knowledge flowed into her mind. The history of the Eridani, their peaceful cooperation with dozens of other civilizations, the problems they had helped solve on countless worlds. "They don't want to control us," Lisa said, her voice stronger now. "They want to help us, there's a difference." The Eridani ship descended lower, hovering directly above them. A column of blue light extended down to the clearing. Porter raised his hand and the soldiers lifted their weapons. "Take them down before that ship can extract them," he ordered. Several of the soldiers hesitated, looking uncertainly between Porter and Lisa. "General," one of them said, lowering his rifle slightly. "I know this woman. She served under me in the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit. She's a decorated veteran. Maybe we should hear her out." Other soldiers began to lower their weapons as well. Porter's face darkened with rage. "This is treason," he growled. "I am giving you a direct order, and I'm asking you to look up," Lisa said calmly, pointing to the sky. More lights had appeared above them, dozens, then hundreds of them, forming a vast array across the night sky. The Eridani ship was just one of an entire fleet that had answered Nari's call. "They could have come with weapons," Lisa continued. "They could have wiped us out without a second thought. But they came peacefully, offering a hand instead of a fist. That's the choice we need to make now." The soldiers stared upward in awe at the display. Even Porter seemed momentarily speechless. Nari stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly through the night air. "People of Earth, this moment is being observed by representatives from across the galaxy. Your response now will determine your world's future path." The blue light from the ship expanded, enveloping Nari, Scout, and Lisa. Lisa felt her feet leave the ground as they were lifted gently upward. "It's your choice, General," Lisa called down to Porter. "Fear or hope? Which legacy do you want to leave?" Porter stood frozen, his face a conflict of emotions. Around him, his men had all lowered their weapons now, their eyes fixed on the spectacle above. After a long moment, Porter slowly lowered his hand. "Stand down," he ordered quietly. "All units, stand down." As Lisa was lifted into the ship, she saw more columns of light touching down across the clearing. The Eridani were coming to meet humanity face to face, not as conquerors or controllers, but as equals offering a hand in friendship. Lisa looked down at Scout beside her, his injuries now fully healed, his purpose fulfilled. She placed her hand on his head and felt the connection between them strengthen. Through him, she sensed Nari's thoughts as well, satisfaction, relief, and hope for the future that now lay before them all. Lisa Morgan had gone into the mountains seeking solitude and escape from her past. Instead, she had found a new purpose, a bridge between worlds. Her prosthetic leg, once a painful reminder of what she had lost, now hummed with the promise of what humanity could become. As the ship door closed below them, Lisa knew that her journey was just beginning. Earth's journey, too, was about to take its first steps toward the stars.